Dominica. Good morning, the rest of the world. Offering women a platform to be candid.
All of your life, you've been planning for a pandemic.
Share ideas and information relevant to our wholesome development.
My main concern was always for the people.
Join Jael Joseph and Trudy Christian on Woman2Woman every Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. as we discuss live and in living color on Digicel Channel 57, Facebook, and of course, the champion station, Vibes Radio. How are you, Trudy?
I'm good. Jael, I notice you practicing your singing skills with these days. I notice you singing the good morning more and more, the voice coming through. Jael.
Trudy, he just hates because I just pray it like I cannot sing, you know. But I have a song just in me somewhere.
No, but that is what I'm saying. I notice the voice coming through more and more. Just now, you just debuting on the big stage, Jael.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
Oh,
like WAP.
I know, right? WAP.
Good morning. Good morning to all of the listeners logging in. If you're just logging on social media, good morning to you. If you've been on with Vibes Radio from the break of dawn and you've been locked on your radios, good morning to you. Thank you very much for joining us. Folks locked in on Digicel Channel 57. Bonjour, bonjour.
Yes.
I feel like
good morning to you.
Yeah. I'm trying to fix myself, make sure that I'm not exposing myself on the, according to the show, on the media. Yeah, good morning to everyone who are at work already. You probably had your morning coffee, your bush tea, your blue cafe, your kakao tea.
Yes, kakao tea.
And you're ready to cover to listen.
Good morning. Yes, good morning to you, the covered listeners. How you doing? Good morning to you. I know you all are on. Our faithful Facebook followers already telling us good morning. Rosalind, we see you. Good morning to you. Always listening from New York. Viviana, good morning to you. Kimberly, very faithful. I see you listening as well.
Yo,
so good morning to
good
morning to you.
Followers. Huh? When you see they cannot get the live, the inbox, you know, what happened in the like sometimes I'm so
I know. So definitely big up to you guys. Always with us. The definition, Jelly's the other day you had to look up the definition of faithful.
Yes. Loyal, steadfast, and constant. That's what it is.
And they fulfilling all the words in that definition. They steadfast, they constant. So yeah, big up to you guys. Lorraine, good morning to you. Good to have you guys with us as usual.
Yes. So I'm finally done with summer school. Like girl, let me tell you, like yesterday I submitted like my last piece of work. I literally had like 3 weeks to like get drunk. considering it's COVID and there's limited things to do. I mean, you can find things to do like up there, so probably considering doing a little 2 day mini vacation.
Yeah.
Someone, but I am so excited to be done with summer school. Yo, summer school is hard. Like, don't let anybody who wants to do summer school. Summer school is hard. I do six
Yeah.
courses a semester, actually, and I did 3 courses for summer school, and I thought I was gonna die.
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, typically I would tell people for summer school, 2 maximum. I always advise because honestly, summer school, as you said, is rough. It's compact. It's like what you would do in a regular semester in like half the time or a third of the time. At the state college, I taught this summer semester. It cut into and it was crazy. 2.5 hours a day for a class. So if you're taking 3 classes, imagine that's 7.5 hours of learning a day. You still have your assignments, you know what I mean, all your studying to do. So summer school is not summer school is for the strong and those a lot of determination. Trust me.
Yeah, let me tell you, at some point I thought I was going to like, and I was actually planning on doing 4, and at the last minute I decided that I'm just going to do 3. And I remember, one of my advisors said, "You sure you want to do 4? Like that seems like a bit much." And I was like, "Can you make courses? No, yeah, I'll be fine." But everybody's doing like 4 and 5. I'm doing 6. I'll be fine. No, it is hard, 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 and I will to anybody that's planning on doing summer school, just do like two classes. Honest though, I did it. An experiment, but in addition to the fact that I did it, I am happy to like complete one of my minors. So that's good.
Mm,
So that's
wow. Yeah. So
Are you ready? You hear me okay?
yeah, but there's a delay. There's a
Uh-oh.
delay. So I'm seeing your mouth moving, and then I'm hearing what you're saying a couple seconds later. So hopefully that can sort itself out. Um, I think I was frozen for a while, but I'm seeing you. I'm hearing you. It's
Defrost now.
just, it's just. Uh,
You defrost now. You're not frozen anymore. You defrost.
Hey, you can only hope you don't get frozen if your face doing something weird. I mean, that's the worst.
Boy. I don't know if
That's
you're on
the
the right.
worst.
You probably want to get that checked to make sure that you're on the right internet connection. Once we do the break, but a few folks are celebrating their birthday today, so we want to shout them out and tell them happy birthday. If you're celebrating your birthday today, the 12th day of August. I'm trying to think of who I know. I feel like I know people that's celebrating their birthday today, but I might have forgotten. So, if you're celebrating your birthday today, happy birthday to you. Happy anniversary if it's your love day as well. Or happy
Right.
day. Hope you guys have today's Wednesday, right? Today's Wednesday. Yeah, today's Wednesday. The days are all a blur.
Yesterday's Wednesday. Well, after the kind of summer school, you understand. I understand why that's happening. Yeah, everything is just meshing in. But yeah, we having also for our listeners are saying it's they're hearing us, but it's distorted. So when we take the break, we'll try to fix up whatever issue we have. So when we come back with our guest, she can be nice and loud and clear for you guys.
Yes, so we gotta check and look into this ASAP to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that we can get
Mm-hmm.
back on track because we have an interesting conversation here this morning. As for those of you who don't know, it is Indigenous Week. And we
Yes,
might
it's
take a
because
different
people we
perspective. We might take a completely different angle than most people would expect because generally when you hear about Indigenous Week or Health Week or this week or that week, you tend to steer to say on what activities are going to be happening and all of that stuff. but I think I personally want to find out a little bit more. Um, I don't know. I don't know about you, Trudy.
Yeah, no, well, it's Indigenous Peoples Week. I do not know what went on. I saw one activity via social media, but I definitely wanted to talk a bit about what is the significance of the week and about the indigenous people in general, and some good info about lifestyle and that type of stuff. So we have Gweneth Frederick in the house. She's waiting patiently. She's the manager of the Kalinago Barano Ute, and she is with us this morning. So definitely
Say that slowly, Barano.
Barano Ote.
Barano Ote.
Ote.
Oh, Jay, I'm gonna struggle. I'll just call it BA. We're gonna take a short break though. When we come back, we're going to be talking because we need to fix this. I feel like we want to talk a little bit longer before we take a break, but we need to fix this delay because it's
Yes,
annoying
yes,
so that we can
yes.
get on with the show. We have an exciting show for you. Make
Right.
sure you
Share it live. Share it live. Make sure you share it live. We'll be right back whilst we're on break. Sharing the live is what you're supposed to be doing. All right? So we'll be back.
We'll be back right after this.
Do you have a question for us on Woman to Woman? Send in your questions on 767-245. Vibes Radio is fostering women-centered discourse.
Good morning, Dominica. Good morning, the rest of the world.
Gmail, offering women a platform to be candid, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. to the champion station with Jael Joseph and Trudy information relevant to our Vibes Radio development.
My main concern was always for the people.
Join Jael Joseph and Trudy Christian on Woman
It's
to Woman.
always a
Every
great
Monday to
deal
Friday
at LA
from
Dubany
9 a.m.
Hardware
to 10
Store.
a.m.
A wide
as we
variety
discuss
of
live
wood
and
and
living
metal
color
curtain
on
rods at
Digital Channel
amazing
57,
prices. So many
Facebook,
patterns
and of
for your
course,
home and
the
business
Champion
decor needs.
Station.
We have roofing, concrete, and wood screws of all lengths, nails by pound and bulk, hand and power tools, paint and paint accessories, all types of silicones, door locks, and hinges. Shop or decorative mirrors and housewares, cutlasses and garden tools, ladders, wheelbarrows, kitchenware, pots and pans, and kitchen appliances, durable ironing boards, clothes dryers, toilets, face basins, kitchen sinks, bathroom faucets, and so much more hardware items. At LA Dubany Hardware Store, you get special discounts when you spend over $29. What are you waiting for? Come home to quality at LA Dubany Hardware.
Didn't you know the only place to go? Vibes Radio. Silk say so.
Huggies Active Sec disposable diapers provides the best absorption results. Its Velcro Dura technology provides a long-lasting fit for up to 12 hours of absorption and are available in sizes small to XXL at an affordable price. Huggies Active Sec, leading your baby to explore the world. Available at all supermarkets and shops island-wide and distributed by Springfield Trading Limited.
We wake you up to take you up, so stay up like a champion.
Vibes Radio is fostering women-centered discourse.
Guys, we're back on your radio. Trudy, I hope you can see me better. I hope everything is a lot clearer. You're good?
I 1 second.
Okay, so we're just making sure that Trudy is connecting. Guys, before we come on, I just want to big up the guys in the studio who are working to ensure that the live comes through clearly, right? We have a nice, crispy, clear live this morning. So, want to big up, of course, Derry, the engineer, and also Dylan, who's on the console, making sure that everything goes smoothly this morning. And we're getting ready. So hopefully, those of you on tuning can hear us clearly. And those of you as well on the Woman2Woman page, as well as Vibes Radio, can hear us crystal clearly, right? So I just wanna encourage you guys, if you have not shared the live, now is a good time to do so. I feel like the conversation that we're about to have is a very, very important one, right, Trudy? Very
Yes, definitely.
a lot of times we tend to put indigenous issues on the back burner, or we look at it as those people or the other people, like we've completely othered a society that has been there before us. And this is what Woman2Woman is about. It's about conversations that truly matter, and we believe that all of us have a little indigenous in us, right? Or at least most of us. We want to make sure that we do right by our indigenous people. Actually, we have Gweneth here with us. Actually, I'll introduce her.
Yes, so Gweneth Frederick is with us this morning. As I said before the break, she's the manager of the Kalinago Barana Ute. UE trained once again. Big up to the UE people. So Mrs. Frederick studied at the University of the West Indies, K-Ville campus. She has her first degree, bachelor's degree in management, and she's utilizing that. She's been the manager of the Kalinago Barana Ote for 3 years, and she has gracefully agreed to join us this morning on Woman2Woman. And it is our pleasure to welcome her to the show.
Morning.
Mabrika to you, Jael. Mabrika to you, Trudy. Mabrika to all your listeners.
Say that again. What is it? What is it?
Africa.
Mabrika.
Yeah, Mabrika to all your listeners, and a special Mabrika to all our listeners in the Kalinago territory tuned in to Vibe Radio right now.
Yes.
Mabrika. It sounds
Yeah.
sexy. Mabrika. Yes. We started off. It's good to have you here with us. Thank you very much.
Yes.
I know you come from far away, to tread down, to come down to Toronto to join us here on the Woman2Woman channel. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, and I can imagine it's a busy time because I know there have been certain activities that you would of course have had to play a role in. So thank you for making this important enough to join us this morning. Yes.
You're welcome. It is always a pleasure, to share our Kalinago history with the rest of Dominica and the rest of the listening public.
Yes, and it's so important. Mrs. Frederick, tell me a bit about. I'll be honest in saying, Indigenous Peoples Week or Day. I do not recall the celebrations from previous
Even
years.
aware. You were not even aware.
Only this year, I don't know how it skipped me, but I want to know what really is the purpose of the celebration. What does it entail? Tell us a bit about it for people who maybe like me somehow did not know in August that this typically happens.
Okay. August 9th commemorates the International Day of the World Indigenous People. It is in recognition of the first UN meeting of the Working Group on Indigenous Population in Switzerland, Geneva in 1982, and then pronounced by the UN General Assembly in 1994. So from 1994, August 9th is the World International Indigenous Peoples Day. So indigenous peoples and all the rest of the world, this is our day. So it is a day when the rest of the world attention is brought to the indigenous people and their plights, their achievements, their way of life, their customs. And this year, we chose to celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day's activities at the Kalinago Barana Uti. It started at 10 a.m. in the morning and it went up to 7 p.m. in the evening. We had what we call a naming ceremony where Kalinago persons had the opportunity with our local shaman to give you a local baptism where you get your own Kalinago name. And I am proud to say that I was one of those on Sunday to get my own Kalinago name.
And what is
So
your
my
Kalinago?
Kalinago name is Ellie, and it means strength. Yes. So there were a lot of other Kalinago persons and persons with Kalinago heritage who wanted a Kalinago name, who wanted to to identify with our Kalinago history and culture. They also were afforded a Kalinago name.
That sounds.
We also had, yes, ritual baths. You know, the Kalinagos are noted for their baths, the herbs that we use. So there's a bath if you have, if you believe that there's evil surrounding you. There's a bath for good luck. There's a bath for everything. So there are different herbs that are used for these things. And persons were also afforded a ritual bath by our local shaman. Yes. But the highlight of of Sunday's activity, in my opinion, was the food. And the food of this world. Because cassava is our traditional root crop, and we are known for cassava. But the byproducts of cassava and what the persons in the Carinago territory have been able to use cassava to do is just simply amazing. You can now get cassava quiche, you can get cassava lasagna, cassava casserole, yes. There are cassava power shake. And then there's also our local drink called wiku that is made out of cassava. So on Sunday, visitors were greeted with all of this and more. So you had an opportunity to get your local firing balls, and that was a hit. So there were a lot that, I mean, I must commend the rest of Dominica for the support that they gave to this activity because Kalinago Baranote on Sunday was just filled with persons partaking and experiencing the Kalinago culture.
Wow, I'm happy to hear that. I'm very.
That's why I don't know, Gweneth, if you can tell me if you feel like there was more, if it's because of more social media interaction, because what you spoke about, like the food, for instance, that's what I was seeing a lot of pictures being shared of, and a lot of people, like people who attended, I guess, were sharing some of the food that they sampled and that type of stuff. And that's how I became aware that this was happening on Sunday. So I'm thinking it was the social media blitz around it that really pushed it into my recognition on that day. I saw all these pictures and I was like, hey, that looks pretty nice. So I'm glad to hear it went well.
Yes, it was. And in the afternoon, now we had an official program. We were graced with the presence of some members of cabinet and the PSs. We had the past chiefs. We had our own local chief. He gave the keynote address, and there were performances by our local Kalinago dance groups. And we also invited the Capuchin cultural group and the um, Pidit Saban cultural group. I mean, although it was Indigenous Peoples Day, it was an opportunity to showcase how we embrace other cultures because, Dominica is for all of us. So we invited these other two groups and they were more than happy to accept our invitation. And they were there quite early. They were there by 11 o'clock, although they performed like at 5, 6 o'clock in the evening. And they were quite happy, to just mingle with the Kalinago people. They enjoyed the food. They took a tour of the property and they enjoyed our wiku. I mean, it was just a very nice day for interaction with the Kalinagos and the rest of Dominica.
I'm happy to hear that you guys had a really good day
Yes.
on Sunday. Um, but I cannot help but go there, and I feel like I need to go there. Um, I am a descendant of a Kalinago woman. My great grandmother was from Budho. So I feel like I need to go there, and permit me, if you will, let me go there because In as much as it seems right now there's a lot of recognition and there's um, a lot of highlighting of the Kalinagu. I mean, we had years ago we were referred to as carrots. Um, we had to adopt a new name, or ask that our name be, or the Kalinago name be used instead of the term carrot. We've heard of cases where there's been discrimination. There's been, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I feel like even the location where our Kalinago people reside in Dominica, to some extent, I feel like it was almost like uh, outcast. So you were placed on a reserve um, as an outcast, and I really want to get into how you feel as a Kalinago woman, in terms of how the treatment of the Kalinago people have been throughout your years or even before you. Do you feel like Kalinago people have been treated fairly in Dominica?
That's a very good question, Jael. And you could look at this from various perspectives. And if I choose to look at this on a personal level. In this day and age, I am a proud Kalinago woman. I am university educated, and there are persons who will tell you that they feel discriminated against. Um, but personally, I don't feel that way. I mean, history has shown us that when we were placed on the northeastern side of the island, and because practically owned Dominica, because we were there when Columbus came. So we believe that, Dominica belongs to us. And then we were slowly driven up to the northeast of the island. And it was not the best lands for fishing, because Kalinagos are traditionally known for fishing, because you have the Atlantic coast right there, and it's very unpredictable. If you have to fish, the Caribbean Sea is best for that. And over the years, you will find that we have made progress. But one of our major hurdles is that of the land ownership, because you and Trudy and the rest of Dominica, you buy land and you have a land title. In the Kalinago territory, it's not like that. Land is handed down from family to children, but you don't own a title for it. So I cannot take my piece of land to the bank and say that I have 4 acres of land and it is valued at $450,000, and I want a loan against that to build a home or to buy a vehicle or to invest in some business venture. We don't have that. We don't have
Why?
that, because it has always been that way. The land is held in common by the council. So if that has to change, it has to go to parliament. It has to be a constitutional change, because the Kalinago territory is governed by the Carib Act. So anything that has to happen like that would have to go to the House, to the Parliament for change. And we have seen over the years, though, the gradual progress of our Kalinago people. We now have lawyers and doctors, our own. We have pilots who are Kalinago people. We have women, for example, in positions of principals of schools, and these positions sometimes were traditionally held by men, sometimes even men out of the Kalinago territory. But now you have, our schools are all, I'm proud to say, they are all principaled by women of the Kalinago territory. We have women who are successful farmers. We have women who are lawyers and doctors in the making, and women like myself. And what I believe is of importance is that we've done this and still have families. Because I am married and I have 2 children. You have the other women, they all have children. And it might be, might be taken to task on this, but you find that quote unquote professional women, in the quest to be at the top of their careers, sometimes don't have time for family. And we all know that having a family can be challenging because you want to give your children, quality time, yet you want to give your best at work. So it's always a balance. And it's difficult finding that balance sometimes. But I believe that Kalinago women have done it. We have teachers who run successful farms, like 50 pigs and more, and they have chickens, and, they do all of these things. So, I mean, we have grown over the years. We have, and I'm proud of where we are in history right now.
Trudy, I know you're probably dying to ask a question, but I feel like I need to say this, I ask this as well. You spoke of, lawyers, doctors, or all the different professions that the Kalinago people have kind of gone ahead and done. But do you feel, or what is your opinion in terms of integration? Was it necessary? Have you lost your traditional way of living as a result of all of this quote unquote integration? Because it sounds to me that it's almost like based on and I'm giving my opinion based on what you responded. That it sounds to me that it is important to feel a level of acceptance by integrating. And that is the only way you will be accepted is if you've integrated into the society, whereby you become doctors and teachers and all of these different things, yet still your what you practice may get lost along the way. I'm gonna go back. Do you feel that how do you feel about integration and the Kalinago the history or the traditions? Do you feel like it's still being practiced and or it will get lost along the way?
I manage the Kalinago Barana OT, and it is the brainchild of former Chief Postulus Frederick. And this facility opened in 2006, April 3rd of 2006. And it is set in pre-Columbian time. We have all of our architecture. We have this majestic Kabi, we have the Muinas, we have the Ajupas, and they're built in the style that would have been built then. And the Kalinago Barana OT is supposed to showcase Kalinago life. So when you come to the site, you have the vendors there who are weaving. You have a young lady making cassava. We have the dances. You have the kitchen there where you can get your authentic Kalinago food. And so that in itself is testament that our culture and our way of life is not lost. Um, Last week, for example, I hosted a summer program. Well, it's ongoing. Last week we did traditional arts and craft. So we had over 15 children at the site who learned to carve and who learned to weave baskets. They got the history of the lauma reed that we use. The ladies on the site, they had the lauma. They showed them how to cut it. They gave them, told them how long it takes to grow and how, if you realize now, all Kayanago baskets, they are colored. Some of you can get them in purple and green and red. So, they told him about the process that it goes through, to get it to look so attractive. So when this project and program was targeted at students in grade 5 and grade 6, at that impressionable age, and each child went home with a piece of Kalinago craft that they made. They were guided by the young ladies on the site, but they all went home with that piece of craft. Who went home with a star? They went home with a basket. They went home with a jewelry box. They went home with something. So they all owned a piece of Kalinago craft. So they are now knowledgeable on Kalinago craft and how do the process that goes with it. And they have an appreciation, a greater appreciation for their culture. And this week, for example, we're doing traditional cooking methods, food preservation and cooking methods. And we were donated the fish, for example, from the fisheries division. So yesterday, my children learned to what you call bukane fish because Kalinagos did not have stoves before. So it's an open fire on a galta. So, they built the galta, they were part of building the galta, they were part of cutting up the fish, seasoning the fish, and lighting the fire. And then, you put in the fish on the galta and with the banana leaf, and giving it fire basically. And when it was done, they could eat it. It formed part of their snack yesterday. So it's not our culture, and we don't have to lose who we are to be integrated into society. It's a balance, and it's a two-way street, because the rest of Dominica also needs to understand and appreciate the Kalin agriculture, because it comes back to the whole discrimination topic. If you don't understand something, and if you don't, for example, if you don't understand the part that the Kalinagos played in our history. For example, we've been told and we'll read that the Negmos, for example, they were aided by the Kalinagos, because all the tracks that we have, they were Kalinagos. And we were the persons and the people who helped them. And my husband has devoted a lot of his time into, educating Dominic on that, because he's a local historian. And sometimes I bring him on site when we have people, or even just to do a refresher with my tour guides, so they have the information and they are always up to date when visitors come to our site. So to me, it's a two-way street.
Mm. I like the fact that you explained, understanding the culture is important, for essentially to ensure that discrimination is discontinued, because understanding is key. And I feel like I've visited the Kalinago Baranote before Hurricane Maria, after Hurricane Maria. And I felt that a lot of what you explained that's represented there helped me understand some of the culture, some of the cultural practices. Of course, you are the manager of that site. I want to know from you if you feel that the Kalinago Barana Ote is fulfilling that purpose really of educating other people on Kalinago culture, and how have you all managed to bounce back after Hurricane Maria? Because I know Hurricane Maria hits a deadly blow to that site. So I want to know, if the site is being utilized, you would say for its purpose, and how did you come back? What's your comeback story? What's the comeback story of that property, of that place after the hurricane?
Okay, Trudy. Kalinago's resilience is like this year's theme. Indigenous peoples, and COVID-19 and indigenous peoples' resilience. Hurricane Maria, what we call in local parlance, it's chiffonné, or the pie, the thatch on our roofs. We only lost
Hmm.
one building due to Hurricane Maria, and we lost our bridge in the rains after Hurricane Maria. It's a miniature tourism facility, so we were, with the help of NEP, we were quick to clean up the site. And we at the Kainago Baranauti, we do not only cater to visitors or to the cruise ship people. Our main markets are the French visitors of Guadeloupe and Martinique. So we have study tours from Guadeloupe and Martinique during the summer, and then we have the cruise ship visitors that come from October to April. And like every other site in Dominica, visitors were slow at first. So we had to change our marketing plan. It's just like now with this pandemic. No visitors can come to Dominica. So we are now offering packages to the local public, because Dominicans are now exploring Dominica and enjoying Dominica. So at the Kalinago Baranauti, we have the waterfall. The Clevish River runs right through our site, and there's the Izilukati waterfall right there. So visitors, when they come, you can picnic at our site. You either bring your food, or we can be prepared for you at the restaurant, and we allow you to picnic on our site. You want a package day. You have children. You need face painting. You need your children to learn to do archery. That can be arranged for you. You want, just to enjoy our food, to try the different foods that you sample on Sunday, that can be arranged also. We have our vendors on site, the craft vendors, they are always there. So you can come and spend the day with them, and you live with your own piece of authentic Kalinagu craft. So not just because we don't have the overseas visitors coming, we have the local population. And in terms of its mandate, there's sometimes when personally I feel that persons of the Kalinago territory, could make a better use of the Kalinago Barana Uti, because you could come, the students, for example, if you have an assignment to do, my tour guides are trained, they are very knowledgeable. The site is a very serene site. You need to study. We are always quiet. So you could come and utilize the site. And some of them do. I mean, being honest, some of them do. A lot of them do. But I'm believing that, a lot more can make better use of our site. Um, so yeah, this is what we've been doing so far.
You guys can actually leave some comments and have some interaction going on both the Woman2Woman page as well as right on here. Someone is saying, I am so amazed, never knew this activity happens in Dominica. And these are like Dominican. So it's like, I feel like it's a general consensus that we tend to just not pay attention to that specific week, on what it represents. Martin saying good stuff. Roosevelt is saying very impressive. I don't know what you're seeing.
Um,
Yeah, we
Jael,
have some feedback.
Hold on. Kalinago Day. And then we celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day, but we also have what we call Kalinago Week. And Kalinago Week this year, it's from the 13th to the 19th. Now, this is a week that we've always celebrated, and it culminates on the 19th of September, always. So this year, this is where I'm sure you've heard of the Miss Kalinago and the Princess Natari. These are shows that have always happened in the Kalinago territory. So we have, whereas Dominica have Miss Dominica, we have Miss Kalinago. And we've had a Miss Kalinago who went as far to participate in the Miss Amazon a couple of years ago. It's also always funded by the Ministry of, well, Kalinago Affairs to the government of Dominica. And this year, what we want to do is to focus on Kalinago language and the Kalinago dress day. Because you realize most of them, well, Dominicans have the Wop Duet and the Jip, and we have what we call the Waiku. And we only use on specific occasions. You see the dance groups, they are well attired in their traditional dress. So we would like to focus this year on our Kalinago dress. So we'll have a Kalinago dress day when each Kalinago will be in the white or some form of variation of it, but in the yellow color, because yellow is our traditional color. Yellow is the Kalinago color. And to bring the attention of Dominica and the international world on the Kalinagos and their dress. Because for when you have 3rd November, everybody goes out and they buy their madras and all of this and make their fancy outfits. So we would like the Kalinagos to have that sort of pride in their national wear and wear it during that week.
All right. Let me
So
let me
Vibes
take
Radio
some of
will be invited to become part of that week.
okay. Let me take some of the feedback that's coming in on the Woman2Woman feed. A few people were weighing in on the land conversation. One of the listeners said the rest of Dominica does not have that protection of land in common and are at the mercy of unscrupulous landed class. Joel, who is one of our faithful Facebook followers, Joel Challenger, yes, of course, from the Kalinago territory as well. He's saying great job, Gweneth, and he's also saying in-depth Kalinago history should also be required in the schools throughout Dominica. So that's his comment, and I agree with that. Um, and then someone is saying not just the Kalinago territory or not just the Kalinagos, the world did not have the luxury of stoves, etc. before invention. The territory is doing a great job in preservation of the history of Dominica. Thanks for this program. And the person also says, looking at the three ladies here, I see three descendants of Kalinago, but with different levels or percentage of heritage. So those are some of the comments that have been coming through. on our page, on our Woman2Woman page.
I'm glad that Angela brought up the education part because that was going to be my question. It's like Joel in the conversation, and we can truly the men who log on and really contribute to the Woman2Woman show. But um, in terms of education, and when you spoke, Gweneth, about the language, and when you came on, you greeted us in your native language, and it was my very first time hearing it, and it's something probably that was not even on my mind that you guys have a language, and that is obvious. That should be obvious because indigenous people will obviously have their own language as they do with their own customs. What sort of work is being done in terms of preserving the language, not just within the community, but extending it to the greater? Because, like that last comment said, we all have a percentage of it in us, even if it's not full blown, right? So I feel like we all need to be exposed to that in order to help maintain the language as well as the customs. So what would you say is being done in order to preserve the language as well as in terms of education on Kalinago affairs within the school system?
We have two gentlemen. We call them cultural activists, Prosper Paris and Jared Langley. And they have been doing this program on DBS for a while now called your Kalinago Word of the Day. So far, I believe they've done about 100 words. And this decade is dedicated to the indigenous languages by the UN. So the Kalinago people have been making strides. Well, we have this program, but there are words, that they have preserved, that they know exactly what they mean, and they've been putting together this Kalinago dictionary. And there's a committee I know of that was advocating for the Kalinago language, Kalinago history, for example, history to be taught in schools. And on the establishment of the Kalinago territory, that's on July 9th, we have persons going into the schools. We have during Kalinago week, we go to all the high schools. The persons go to all the high schools, and they do this Kalinago talk. Um, as to how far they are, with the success that they have had with getting the inclusion of the Kalinago language and the Kalinago history itself in the schools. Because we have teachers who are of all our teachers are from Kalinago heritage and they're from the Kalinago territory. So yes, they will tell the children, more about the Kalinagos. And what I've seen in recent years, we always get visits from all schools. I know that they're hitting this topic in the social studies curriculum, just know we're going to get, all these students from all the primary schools and sometimes even the high schools at the Kalinago Baranoti, because we have this map, because all the islands, the villages in Dominica, they have Kalinago names. They were all given Kalinago names before they were given English names. So they come to learn about this because we have that at the Kalinago Baranoti. And Prosper and Manley have been doing a very good job. They've been working with this language specialist, I think, out of St. Lucia, who has some knowledge on the Kalinago language. So they're putting this dictionary together and I guess, to make it public for the Kalinagos and the rest of Dominica. But I know they were making good strides in that way.
I have two questions. I have two questions.
So every grade, mhm.
I have two questions. Uh, that one of it came up when you were speaking about making the languages more available for people in the school. Um, the what we're taught in schools, and Trudy can probably correct me if I'm wrong, because I remember being taught that carrots grow walleye, like that in my mind, ingrained in my mind to this day. I am of the belief, based on what I was taught, that Caribs, in the exact phrase, Caribs were warlike. They were the bad ones. They were the ones that liked to fight. They were the rebels, whereas the Arabs were the calm ones. Um, that's what I was taught in school. Has that changed in terms of the education system, in terms of what? Because if you have, I mean, I read a lot, and 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 I live in a country that has had to um, enforce the Truth and Reconciliation Act as it relates to Indigenous peoples in Canada. And that is, the giving them back their lands and all of the different acknowledgement, land acknowledgements. You just mentioned about the names of the different communities, but we don't really know what the Kalinago names are. We've been told that we should be called, practically, I think, or the name Dominica should be changed back to white only because it was given by our colonial master, and I feel that that should be gotten, that should get rid, we should get rid of that. Trudy, being a teacher, might be able to correct me in terms of what is still being taught today to our children. Because I remember my son had an assignment, and I recall him saying the Caribs were warlike, right? And my son is 8. So I want to know about the narrative and what is being taught in our schools. Yes, we want to preserve the Italian agriculture, but how are we preserving it? Are we preserving it based on negative stereotypes, or is it being preserved in terms of what actually happened and not what was taught to us by our colonial masters? I think I asked my 2 questions.
Do I look more like to you,
No,
Jael?
you don't.
Do I look more like to you?
But that's what we want.
I mean, yeah, what I'm saying is, well, from my perspective, and I'll give you a simple example. You're at your house, and these people that you don't know, they invaded your home, and they want to put you out. What would you do? Wouldn't you defend your home because it is yours? So
Exactly.
when Christopher Columbus and his people came and they attempted, to take over Dominica, so we fought for it because it's our home. So that's where all of this warlike thing came from, because we simply defended what we believe was ours. And then, yes, history have recorded it, that way. And there has been a movement to even have, history rewritten, because the Karinago people, one set will tell you that the Karinago people are warlike, another set will tell you that the Karinago people are very shy. If you don't speak to a Karinago young lady before, maybe you will not even know she's in the room, because they were just quiet and docile, and they only speak when they were spoken to. So you have this conflicting information, but it's come from the basic need to protect what is yours. So, as I said, there's been this need, and then the historians that we have, like well, Lennox and our local historians, Prosper and Manley and Hosier, who have sought to dispel these beliefs when they do these talks at the schools, at the primary school level, at the high school level, even at the international level, because Dominica now has a seat, and the Kalinago chief has a seat on the reparations committee. So they have this opportunity now to change that dialogue, because we don't believe that we are warlike. And that's from that stems the whole need for the name change, because the name Carib had the connotation of Kalinago. So we would really like, I mean, there has been this movement to get the narrative changed, because a lot of people now, there's the advent of the internet, and persons can research, and things are being rewritten. So it is changing, and we would like it to continue, in that way, because nobody likes what is theirs being taken away. You will defend it, and that's what we did.
Yeah, and I guess the material that may be used in schools at the primary level or high school level, it's history is interesting sometimes, as it relates to from whose perspective is it being given, so sometimes,
Right.
yes,
This perspective,
yeah,
really.
historical material, yeah, the perspective that it's coming from might be the perspective of the colonizer. You know what I mean? So that needs to
Yeah.
work, definitely needs to be done. To give a different perspective on history, Dominican history, Kalinago history. I wanted to. We have so many other things that we wanted to discuss, and our time is slowly coming, not slowly, quickly coming to an end. But I wanted. This is Woman to Woman, and we always, like to bring in women very specifically in our discussions. Of course, we know a lot of improvements have been made in the Kalinago territory. And I want to hear from you if specific thing or things that have happened to empower Kalinago women. We want to talk a little bit at the end here about Kalinago women. And if you can see that there have been moves to empower women specifically in the territory. Or should there be moves to empower women a bit more?
As I said, well, historically, again, it has been shown that Walinago women have always held an important part in the home. When our Kalinago men went out hunting and fishing, it's the Kalinago women who stayed home and took care of the family and planted the gardens. Now, that in itself was even more important than hunting. From my perspective, is that the woman had to know exactly what moon to plant the dashin or what moon to plant the tanya, what moon will bring a better yield. So it's not saying that the woman was more intelligent than the man, but it would seem that way sometimes. And what has happened in the Kalinago territory, it has just magnified itself. Because as I said earlier, now we have women in all walks and in all professions in the Kalinago territory. Um, what I would like to see personally, though, is the financial institutions, for example, and maybe even government, because of the whole land ownership problem that we have, or the lack of land ownership, that some of the regulations, be bent a little bit because we have intelligent women who have wonderful business ideas. And the Kalinago territory, it's not far from Roseau. It's a less than an hour, depending who drives you. And the
Mm-hmm.
airport is half an hour away. So, we have the possibility, the economic gains from the businesses that we can have in the Kalinago territory are endless. So, if these institutions can bend, then you have women who blow your mind with the things that they can do. Because as I mentioned earlier, we have women who, our first woman, P.S. Burton. We have myself. We have the principals of the school. We have farmers. I know, for example, two or three farmers, who are teachers and they have impressive farms. Women have been making, we have our council, for example, the Kainago Council. There's a list for women who sits on the Kainago Council. And women have just been making strides in the Kalinago territory. For example, the two young ladies who excelled at CXC, Nia and Adicia, these are Kalinago women in the making, intelligent women, intelligent children who will be intelligent women. So I would just like, but we have come this far, but I know we can go so much further if we had
Amen.
some of the access to credit.
Mhm.
So, that in itself would be magnificent for us in the Kalinago territory as women.
It's good that you spoke of that because just yesterday we had a financial advisor on. So it's good that you spoke. So it's a deficiency within the society, and I feel like it needs to be addressed. And I'm glad that you are ending on that note. That you mentioned that conversation that we end on that note that there needs to be some more being done in order to, yes, we can have all of the traditional stuff. But personally, I feel like it needs to be of that my personal opinion. I feel like it's needs entrenching too much in more bad than good. And I feel like in order for us to show that we truly embrace our Caribbean people, that we incorporate name back into our society. And let's be the first. We've been the first of a lot of things, and I'm sure we can be the first of can lead and follow our example in changing the narrative and stereotypes that have been attached to indigenous people and discrimination that they've had to go through for years, right? And even like even to this day, you hear people use negative stereotypes like say Caribs always drunk or Caribs like to drink rum or Caribs like to party. Like they use all of these different things which are not necessarily true, right? So I feel like we were in the right direction. Like I think that you are definitely on the right path, Gweneth, and I want to comment on what you've been doing. And you were able to speak without fear of being being true to yourself and what you believe in.
Some of what you said got distorted,
Yeah,
but I'd like to thank you all for the opportunity to be here this morning and to speak about the Kalinago history and culture and to promote the Kalinago Baranaoti and to invite you all and to invite your listeners up to the Kalinago territory so we can have a conversation and you can immerse yourself in the Kalinago culture, learn about our beliefs and our myths and legends, our history, enjoy some of our foods. So I'd like to thank you all for the opportunity to be here this morning. Um, I'd like to also thank the rest of the people in the Kalinago territory for listening to me because I know they're listening. I'm getting lots of WhatsApp messages from the corner of my eye. I can see my phone lighting up.
Right.
So it would be really nice though at some point if you would take this show out of the studio and visit some of the sites like the Kalinago territory and we could host the show at Kalinago Baranote one day with the ocean in the background and just enjoy what we have to offer.
That's a
you have
great
to
idea.
you have to wait for me. I'm not saying.
Well, if that's a great idea, I think I'll take you up on that. Jael, you can stay in Canada whilst I visit. I visit the Kalinago Barada Hotel, and I'm there with my nice scenery in the back, and you there in your normal scenery. I love that idea. Gweneth, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. It was our pleasure. Yes.
Bye-bye.
Yes, Jill.
Issues in and out,
Yeah.
and all of that stuff. But I hope that part of the message got translated and that people were able to grasp some of what we want to share this morning or what I'm sharing this morning.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just like to. We are over our time, of course. But I'd like to apologize to our listeners. I realized there was a lot of distortion in the feed. The internet seems tomorrow, same time, same place, Woman to Woman. Make sure you join us tomorrow, bright and early, 9 a.m.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Vibes Radio is fostering women-centered discourse and action, offering women a